Dan Rivera was a respected paranormal investigator. He wasn't a ghost hunter chasing clout or fame. He was a man who approached the supernatural like a scientist, skeptical, curious, careful. He'd spent decades walking into places others ran from, abandoned asylums, forgotten prisons, even homes that church officials refused to enter. But in late 2023, Dan decided to investigate something different. Not a place, not a spirit, but an object. One with a terrifying history, one locked away for decades, one responsible for multiple deaths, dozens of accidents, and countless unexplained events. Its name is Annabelle, and just one night in the presence of this doll was enough to end Dan Rivera's life. This is not a movie plot. This is a real story, a horrifying account of a man who dared to confront what many believe is pure evil and never lived to tell the tale. The legend of Annabelle began in 1970, but unlike the demonic porcelain figure you've seen in Hollywood, the real Annabelle is a Raggedy Ann doll, red yarn hair, button eyes, soft cloth body. She looks harmless, but don't be fooled. The original owner was a nursing student named Donna. She received the doll from her mother as a gift, but within days, strange things began to happen. The doll would move, not dramatically, not spinning heads or levitating. At first it was subtle, a shift in position, a leg cross that wasn't before, arms outstretched when they'd been resting by her side. Then the notes appeared, small pieces of parchment paper, which Donna insisted didn't exist in the apartment, with messages written in what looked like a child's handwriting. The words were chilling. Help us. Help Lou. Lou was Donna's friend, and he had a bad feeling about the doll from the beginning. One night, Lou had a terrifying dream, or at least he thought it was a dream. He was paralyzed in bed, and Annabelle was slowly crawling up his body. Then he woke up, only to find scratch marks, 3 of them across his chest, deep, bleeding, real. That's when Donna called in the big guns, Ed and Lorraine Warren, the most famous paranormal investigators in the world. When the Warrens arrived, they immediately sensed something was wrong. This wasn't a haunted doll, this was a vessel. A demonic entity was using the doll as a means to get closer to the living. The Warrens determined the spirit wasn't the ghost of a little girl, but something far more sinister, pretending to be one. They took the doll, locked it in a special glass case, and sealed it inside their occult museum in Connecticut. A sign on the case reads, "Warning, positively do not open," and even locked away. Annabelle didn't stop. Over the years, many people who encountered Annabelle suffered strange and sometimes deadly misfortunes. One man mocked the doll during a tour of the museum. He tapped the glass, laughed, and said it was a joke. On his way home, he crashed his motorcycle. He died instantly. His girlfriend survived, but claimed they were joking about Annabelle just seconds before the accident. Another incident involved a priest. He scoffed at the idea of the doll being haunted and dismissed the Warrens as frauds. He crashed his car on the way home. He survived, barely, and later said he believed the accident was no coincidence. Lorraine Warren often referred to Annabelle as the most dangerous item in their entire collection. And that's saying something, because their museum is full of haunted mirrors, cursed objects, and demonic artifacts. Fast forward to 2023, Dan Rivera was working on a documentary project, one that explored the psychology of fear and the reality of the paranormal. He had a theory that objects like Annabelle weren't inherently evil, but absorbed energy from the people who believed in them. He wanted to spend the night with Annabelle to test this theory, not in defiance, not to prove a point, but to understand. The Warren family had closed the museum to the public, but Dan had credentials, a long-standing relationship with other investigators, and a spotless record of handling dangerous environments with care. After months of negotiation, he was granted a single overnight stay in the museum, with full access to Annabelle's case. Under one condition, he was not to open it. On the night of the investigation, Dan set up multiple recording devices, 4 night vision cameras, EMF readers, audio sensors, and backup batteries for everything. He performed a cleansing ritual beforehand, sage, holy water, protective symbols on the walls. At 10:43 p.m., the camera caught Dan sitting on the floor in front of Annabelle's case. He said calmly, "I'm not here to challenge you. I just want to understand what you are." For the first few hours, nothing unusual happened, but at exactly 3:07 a.m., all 4 cameras began to glitch. The temperature in the room dropped by 11 degrees, and the audio began to pick up faint whispering. Dan spoke again, this time sounding nervous. "There's a presence here. It feels heavy, like it's sitting on my chest." A few minutes later, one camera captured Dan clutching his arm. He said he felt sudden pain, as if he'd been burned, but nothing was visible, at least not at first. At 3:36 a.m., the main camera shut off completely. The rest of the footage is gone. When staff arrived at 7 a.m., they found Dan Rivera dead. He was lying on his side in a fetal position just inches from the glass case. There were no wounds, no signs of a heart attack, no evidence of poisoning. The coroner ruled his cause of death undetermined, but something was deeply wrong. Every recording device had been wiped. Hard drives, SD cards, cloud backups, blank. Even the time-lapse security footage from outside the museum had glitched, showing static between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. The only thing left was a single handwritten note in Dan's notebook. It read, "She's not what they think she is." No signature, no other explanation. That was Dan's final message.